this message wherever you stand. I'm calling every woman, calling every man. We're the generation, we can't afford to wait. The future started yesterday, and we're already late.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Empowered Living. We are a panel of educators, and I am one of your hosts. My name is Marshall Bryant.
Good morning, Detroit. I am Laura Sala.
And good morning, Detroit. I'm Regina Ross.
Okay, today we are following up on part 2 of education and community. And today we will have a special guest with us, Miss Barbara Jones, who is a conflict and resolution specialist, and she also teaches at Wayne State University. But before we go any further into our show today, I want to start with Regina giving us some employment updates. We always want to make sure everybody knows what's going on in the city if they're looking.
Right. Thank you for that. One of the things, the city of Detroit, they're starting a new program. So the city of Detroit, they're hiring, and they're also hiring youths for the summer. The state of Michigan is hiring, Kroger's is hiring, Family Dollar is hiring, and I am partnering with Brookins Construction Company and the city. And the things that we want to do is we just don't necessarily want you just to have a job. We would like to give you training, resume writing, and skills, a trade. So if you're interested, you can contact me at area code 313-724-3830, and I'll give you more information.
Okay. Thank you, Regina. That's great. Okay, so we're getting ready to take our first break, and when we come back, we are going to talk a little bit about what's going on and get our guest ready to come on so we can finish up our discussion on education and community. We want to thank the producers here at WHPR for just allowing us as educators to have this platform. So if you just stay tuned and come back for a great conversation, don't go too far. Get you some coffee and come right back.
If you hear this message wherever you stand, I'm calling every woman, calling every man.
Welcome back. So today we are so excited because we are finishing our discussion on education and community, and we're going to talk a little bit first before we get into that about some things that's going on in the media. We have this media platform, and now that we have the new powers at be, from my understanding, they're not too pleased with the media right now. So for the city of Detroit, the one thing that we want to make sure that we always stay aware of what's going on, especially with the laws that's being passed and everything. So, as a media network, I know we see on the news and we see from media standpoints that, this conflict that is going on with the executive orders and the legislature and a lot of conflict, but still, we don't want anyone to be deterred from, staying abreast of what's going on or feeling like, I just can't deal with it. Sometimes it is frustrating and you feel that way.
Right.
Absolutely. And then you wonder if this is some sort of design to keep people from being informed. As you said, the powers that be, as you can see, there is obvious conflict between the media network and the powers that be. And you wonder if this is done purposely just to try to deter people, as you mentioned earlier, find out what the real truth of what's going on in your community and around this country of ours.
Right.
So personally, I'm deeply concerned. Deeply concerned.
Yeah, Regina, I know you have.
Oh, yeah, I was just thinking that as he was saying that, I was thinking one of the things that we have to do, we have to be aware of what's good for us. We want the betterment for ourselves. How can we better ourselves, our situation? How can, if you're in a decent situation in the city, how can you maintain that? We want to either better or maintain. And the things that we do, we have community. There is a community, a group, organization having a meeting every week. if you need to find out where they are, just give me a call. Again, that number is area code 313-724-3830. And we will get you informed, because sometimes you well, I don't know if I should believe that what's going on the news. But if you come to the community groups, you'll be more aware, because it's in your community what's going on, what you really need to know. So I would encourage that.
Yeah, that's very good, because I know there's another community group, and there's a few, but the one that really comes to mind too is Move On. And that one, they keep you abreast week by week, like what's getting ready to happen, when is a good time to talk to your representative, you know, because if you don't know what they're getting ready to make a decision on. So it's kind of like if you know ahead of time, then you can figure out where you stand on it. So, you know, you don't have to be in the dark and feel like I got to figure this out alone.
Right.
There's groups out there, like you said.
And then if you can't figure it out, like you said, come to the group and they will help you and enlighten you one way or the other. You can make your own decision, but a lot of times you need enlightenment so you can know which way to go.
And also, I think we need to encourage our listeners and viewers just the same too. Get out and know your state reps, know your community leaders, and really and do some research on them. And as you both ladies stated earlier too, they have informational websites where things are going on. So there are a lot of things that you can find out about, but you have to go out and find out who these people are and discuss with them and find out. Just stay informed. Just and you know, sometimes you have to stay over informed.
Right.
A lot of these politicians will. They're transparent, and they'll let you know their platform and what it is this country is going through as well politically. So stay informed, Detroit. Don't stop searching.
Right. Well, Empowered Living and Living Empowered is our organization. Empowered Living is a TV show, but we hosted our first community event. Wow.
Right.
And we want every month for people in the city of Detroit and also students to come out. We showed the documentary America Divided, and this one, it's a series of documentaries for America Divided. The first one that we showed was Policing the System, and it was about incarceration and also violence and the tension between law enforcement and citizens. Of course, that documentary, it featured activist and rapper Common, and it also took place in Chicago, but it also related to the city of Detroit, because it's not just a one state or one city issue. It goes deep. Everyone knows from state to state what their community is going through. And then we also have our own, you know, the little situations with incarceration, violence, and different things. So, and pipelining into the prison system from students. So we're going to be focusing on that one this month of March with the next documentary and community panel discussion. That panel discussion was great.
Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome because, as you just highlighted, Marshall, that we've had a panel of a plethora of people. Some had experienced incarceration in their own lives, and they were able to bring a chock full of enlightening information to these young people who we're targeting. Because let's face it, I remember one comment one of the panelists said, and it really stuck with me. He mentioned to the kids that we always say that the children are our future, and he says, get that out of your heads. They're our present. And that really hit home with me because they are here now. So, yes, we want them to have a bright future and an informative future, but they're more than just our future. They're here now, so we have to deal with the situations that are going on in front of their faces, too, as far as what's going on in the community and a lot of negative things that they're seeing. So we have to reassure these young people that there's more out there than what's being on TV right now and in the media.
Right.
I guess for me, the biggest thing, I enjoyed all of it, and we even ran out of time. It was so good.
That's a good thing, and that's a good problem to have.
But I guess for me, I'm more concerned with incarceration. I do not want our young people to get incarcerated. I don't like the ploy that, okay, if you don't make it here by the 3rd or 4th grade, then it's a possibility that you will be incarcerated. And when I say make it, they're talking about literacy. So those are things as educators that we're really concerned with.
Right.
But that is something that is very, very serious. Incarceration, you may be there for the next 20 years, and you're 18.
Right.
In 38 years. I mean, you missed all those prime years, and you can't go back.
That's right.
It's not that easy. As they were saying, it's not that easy to get back in society.
No.
Yeah, because that transition is really hard. And like you were saying, you know, it starts with those test scores. You know, once they decide by third grade,
Right.
then they've already determined, labeled, and decided, okay, are you going to prison or which way are you going? So, you know, that's really critical. And we have to make sure in our youth lives that we are just really.
Yeah, you know, and if I can just stop right real quick, you mentioned literacy and how it can, I guess, have an effect on some of these people who are incarcerated. A professor in college told me real quick that he did a thesis on literacy with the black African American males. He went to visit a prison, and prisoners, African American male prisoners, ages range from 20 to 40. All of those young men had second and third grade reading levels. So it was an eye opener for me that there was a connection of lack of literacy, just basic reading. Let's call it what it is, folks, just reading. And these gentlemen now incarcerated. So that's my 2 cents on literacy, and it's really we should talk about it more because it's here and it's evident.
Right.
So.
Right. It is here, but one of the things that you said when you broke it down and you said it was reading. Well, one of the things that we all can do, even if a person can't read, we can put up the words and help. You can help at home.
Absolutely.
It's up to the person.
Absolutely.
Well, I was going to say it's up to the student, but maybe not. Maybe it's up to their family. Okay, here's a word. What's that? And give them words to read. And with the phones now,
oh my goodness,
they text. So
right.
There's a lot of reading that can be done, but that is something that we could change. But it's not that simple. It sounds like, okay, well, just teach them to read. It's not that simple, but it's something that we could do and could be done. Yeah. And again, it goes back to us as a community working together, and just deciding we want to change. We're not going to just take it and stay in the way it is. We have to change these things.
Yeah. And we also we have to see the cycle, and then also, help one another. We can't just say, oh, that's their issue over there. We have to take more of an active role as a community, so make sure March 31st, our next community panel discussion and documentary, and it is free at Marygrove College, March the 31st from 7 to 9 p.m. And it is going to be on incarceration and students. I also want to update the community that the science fair competition is coming up. And we will also have the winners from our Detroit local science fair. Our students that win, they will come in and they will be interviewed, and we will also have Miss Watson, who started the DAPSAT program. She's going to be on. So it is Black History Month. We're getting to the close of that, and our special guest today, Miss Barbara Jones, she has an organization, and it is in honor of Mr. Ralph Bunche, and that's who we are honoring today for Black History Month. So I know that's one of Loris's favorites.
Yes, indeed. So, Mr. Bunche, well, first of all, I'm excited about when I hear his name because how he contributed to the political landscape of this community, and he's right here from Detroit. So that's why when I hear Mr. Bunche, I just was excited. And also when I learned about him in middle school, I said, wow, there are politicians from here in Detroit. Briefly, Ralph Bunche was born August 7, 1904, and he passed away in 1971 right here in the Big D, Detroit, Michigan. Bunche has maintained strong ties with education. He chaired the Department of Political Science at Howard University from 1928 to 1950, taught at Howard University from 1950 to 1952, served as a member of the New York City Board of Education from 1958 to 1964, as a member of the Board of Overseers of Harvard University, 1960 to 1965. Also, he was a member of the Board of the Institute of International Education, and as a trustee of Oberlin College, Lincoln University, and New Lincoln School. This man did a lot. He also worked in the United Nations from June of 1947 to August of 1949 on one of the most important assignments of his career, That was the confrontation between Arabs and Jews in Palestine. Bunch was always extremely active. Civil rights movement as well. So thank you, Mr. Bunch, for your contributions here. And he is our Black history historian that we lift up today.
All right. Thank you. That's right. And it ties so well in our topic, community and education, and just taking that active role. So we're going to take a brief break. When we come back, we're going to show a clip, and then we're going to bring our special guest on, Ms. Barbara Jones. So stay tuned and come back.
If you hear this message, wherever you stand, I'm calling every woman, calling every man.
Good morning, Detroit, and welcome back to Empowered Living. Today we have a very special guest, Miss Barbara Jones, here from Wayne State. Miss Barbara Jones, could you tell us about who you are and what things you're doing at Wayne State?
Sure. Good morning, and thank you for having me as a guest this morning. My name is Barbara Jones. I am the Community Dispute Resolution Specialist for the Center for Peace and Conflict Studies at Wayne State University. I also teach. I'm also a faculty instructor, and one of the classes that I do teach is called Social Justice Activism. Based off of what I do in the community, it is my honor and privilege to be able to assist campus and community on ways on how to resolve conflict.
Okay.
And that is done in a variety of different ways, depending on the circumstances, who the actors are, or the disputing parties. And based off of that, I'm pretty much a neutral intervener that facilitates communication between disputing parties in order for them to come up with creative options on how they can resolve their conflict. The class that I teach, Social Justice Activism, I teach this class to undergraduate students. And basically what the class entails is to present theoretical frameworks and theoretical implications of how social movements operate. A lot of times when we see on television or read in the media about different protests, it's a lot involved when it comes to protests. There are a lot of theories that serve as the basis on how protests and demonstrations come about. So I teach those theoretical frameworks when it comes to collective action, consensus building, solidarity, collective identity, collective behaviors. All of these things and these theories are very important. And when we see the result of protest, it's a way, it's pretty much how people organize in order to bring about awareness to issues that society is dealing with.
If you don't mind me asking, Ms. Jones, how, first of all, you sound very passionate with conflict resolution. And I guess just a question: how did this conflict? How did this come to your heart, or how did you develop this passion that you have for this program that you have at Wayne State?
As a personal testimony and my personal experience and story as a parent, I am a mother. I have two children, two beautiful grandchildren who all of them currently reside out of state. And my youngest, my son, experienced a lot of adverse incidences in his formative years in high school. When it comes to bullying and being able to resolve conflict peacefully, my son did not have the skills to actually do that as a freshman. And as a young man of color, a lot of us parents are faced with, how do we teach our son to resolve, or teach our children how to resolve conflict peacefully?
Absolutely.
And in this time, in the times that we live in now, that's very difficult.
Right.
When we have these conversations with our kids, we usually tell them, if something is going on, make sure you inform a teacher, make sure you inform
Some
an
adults,
adult.
right.
But during the times that we live in now, that is not always an option for our young people when they are faced with bullying, and they don't have these skills to be able to talk their way out of conflict. It usually resorts to violence, and my son was brutally attacked inside a high school based off of him being bullied and him trying to defend himself. And as a parent, even if you don't have a special needs kid, your number one job as a parent is to advocate and protect your child.
Absolutely.
So with being in that situation and trying to not only advocate for my son, but trying to work with teachers and administrators and other parents, this issue came to me. And when your kid is suffering, you become really passionate about how do we help our children. Right. So that's pretty much how I came to really do the work that I'm doing currently now in peace and conflict studies.
And it's sad that you had to go through that with your son, but I can identify with you because I went through something similar with my son. As women and as parents, it makes a difference.
Absolutely.
But you went through that. But the thing is, look what you're doing now. Maybe you had to go through that.
Yes.
To help others.
Absolutely.
In my case, maybe I had to go through some of that too. That now look what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's pretty much, you said it. And when I was not able to really educate my son, I sought out education for myself. To be able to, I wanted to learn different ways and approaches on how we as parents can help our children. So I went back to school and got my master's in dispute resolution from Wayne State University, and they have a program, a master's program directly tailored for students to learn all of these theories and principles. So with that education, I was able to really equip myself, and not just myself, other parents who were suffering in the same manner in which I was. So after going back to school and working with parents inside the schools, we were able, a small group of us were able to organize in a manner on how are we as parents and adults and administrators and teachers going to help our children. My son recovered from his injuries, graduated from high school, but the environment still breeded violence, negativity. So at that point, I wanted to see my son thrive and live, and I pretty much sent him out of state to be able to see that there is an environment, or we live in a society where everything that we see is not based off of what it is. There are different options in life, and I wanted my son to be able to see the positive outside of his experience, because the trauma that he suffered, he's still carrying with him today. So that really engaged me and really empowered me to continue to do this work, not just because of my son, but because our young people are dealing with a lot of trauma. And as parents, we're seeking ways in order to be able to help our children deal with things outside of the classroom that they have to deal with in order to be able to be successfully academically. So at that point, that's where my activism started, with becoming educated and working with the Center for Peace and Conflict Studies, working with them, working for them. And actually, I'm a product of the program. I went on to get my graduate certificate from Wayne State University in Peace and Security Studies. And my focus narrowed down to working with young people and working with parents and working with community organizations to really figure out ways collectively on how we're going to be able to not only deal but equip our young people with ways in order to be able to resolve their conflict without resorting to picking up a gun, being violent, using their physical attributes to resolve conflict.
Right, because young people need to know that that is not the norm. Some of them believe that that's just normal.
Absolutely.
To bully, to pick on people,
Yes.
to fight people,
Yes.
to use guns.
Yes.
All of that, they feel like, okay, well, this is what we do.
Absolutely.
But we need to let them know, no.
Absolutely.
No, that's just a small part of society. And then, like we were talking about incarceration earlier,
Absolutely.
they could wind up there. So we want to prevent that also.
Yeah.
And it's just also, too, it goes back to, I guess, re-educating, if you will. Instead of being reactive, we have to be proactive.
Absolutely.
And this is what you stated. First of all, I truly applaud you, Ms. Jones, because reading your information in here and listening to you, I'm really getting goosebumps over here, because you were not a parent who stood by and complained. You got off the sidelines and got into the game.
Yes.
And Detroit, that's really the major difference here, is that we have to have what we want, more parents and more community people, as Ms. Jones has stated, because she, not only did she get off the sidelines into the games, but she went back to school and sought out education to deal with this problem that started out personal.
Right.
But then when it went further than her own household and to the community. So once again, I can't wait till some of your books come out, so we can, because you're truly contributing a lot to this community, and kudos to you. Kudos to you.
I can't do it alone.
Oh no, it's a collective effort. We know that
Absolutely.
it's a team effort, but
Right,
you're
but
at the forefront.
Yeah, it's
You
something
truly at
that
the
is
forefront.
needed, and you're doing a wonderful job. So we do say thank you for that.
Yes.
that you are out
Yes.
there doing that.
Can you tell us how do some of the programs for youth, and what are some programs called that you're developing or you've been working with in this community?
Well, as you mentioned earlier, the Ralph Bunche Summer Institute
The Ralph Bunche, yeah.
is a
tuned.
program that was developed by the Center for Peace and Conflict Studies, the director, Dr. Frederick Pearson, years ago, to pay homage and to honor the first person of color to win the Nobel Peace Prize.
My man, Ralph
Right,
Bunche.
right.
And a native Detroiter.
That's right. That's right.
Who flies under the radar. So thank you for honoring Dr. Bunche's life and legacy for Black History Month. We don't hear a lot about him.
You're right.
And based off of Dr. Pearson's vision in honoring Dr. Bunche's life, he created this program years ago called the Ralph Bunche Summer Institute,
Okay.
where we convene young people on the campus of Wayne State University for one intensive training, 1 week intensive training on campus, where we reach out to parents and students to bring them in a higher education setting across racial lines, across cultural lines. The young people are 10th through 12th graders who come to Wayne State University to not only learn about Dr. Bunche's life and his contributions on peacemaking and negotiation and international affairs and relations, but themes on how we have to not only work toward peace, we have to be peaceful with each other.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times conflict arises when we don't know each other, when we're not familiar with each other's culture, when there is the environment of city versus suburbs versus rural. So
The invisible lines, if you will.
absolutely,
Yeah, right,
absolutely. So we convene these young people and we offer intensive training on diversity, on negotiation skills, on violence prevention, on conflict resolution intervention, civil rights. And we also partner with Wayne State University's Damon J. Keefe Center for Civil Rights. And when these young people come on campus, they don't know each other. They have no idea sometimes why they're even there. But the parents really look at the program and value the program and say, hey, my kid really needs to be there. And this intensive training is not offered in academic curriculum in schools. We don't teach our kids about conflict resolution in schools, because usually in schools conflict is already brewing. And I have to give my hats off to you all as teachers and administrators. It's very difficult for you to be able to give instruction and teach students when there is conflict.
You're right.
So you all are conflict resolution practitioners as well, to be able to expose young people on ways they can really resolve conflict. And that comes from listening. We don't listen to each other. We offer active listening skills, communication skills, some behavioral modifications as far as anger management. Of course, we talk about bullying and law enforcement, police and community relations. So when we bring these young people on campus based off of them not having any idea of why they're there, we give them topics, we give lectures, we bring in experts, we give them exercises and icebreakers and role play simulations that they participate in.
That is awesome.
Because at the end of their week that they spend with us, they have to work together in groups. They learn teamwork. They learn negotiation skills, and they focus on topics that we present them that they have to do research, and our libraries are available for them to do research, and they come together and they figure out how they are going to solve these issues and solve these conflicts, or come up with approaches in how they're going to work together to be change agents of our future, whether that is improving race relations or whether that is learning about a different culture. And they present in a community setting at the end of the program to community leaders, to parents, friends, family, not only what they learn, but the project that they have come up with, that they have researched, that they're so passionate about in helping solve. So they make these presentations at the end of the week while at the same time learning these great skills.
That sounds wonderful. All that in a week.
Yes.
I was saying that's a lot. She's doing a whole lot, and that's and I'm sure that's a good problem to have too. To have more than more things to deal with, and maybe not enough time. So in other words, that you're teaching these young people to collaborate with one another, because even within that 1 week of their program, they're already in their own community.
Yes.
On the campus, on the Wayne State's campus with your program too.
And then they get a chance to see what college life is about. And they also spend the night in the dorms.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, Detroit, once again, you with this wonderful lady here, this community activist and conflict resolution, Ms. Barbara Jones. She has a plethora of information for us, and we're going to take a short break. But please don't go anywhere. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back with more Miss Barbara Jones and her programs.
We're already late. We've been looking for a song to sing, search for a melody.
We've been talking with Miss Barbara Jones, who is a teacher and has a plethora of programs here at Wayne State, mainly dealing with the conflict resolution. And you told us about some programs that you have started up here at Wayne State, and I was wondering if do you have anything or any program outlets for our middle school students? I know this program that you mentioned too has geared toward high school students, but in the foreseeable future, will there be anything for middle school students who sometimes experience some of the same negative things on their in their schools?
I'm glad you asked that question. Currently, the staff, along with myself and Dr. Pearson, the director for the Center for Peace and Conflict Studies, we interface with the community on a regular basis, and we get calls from parents asking, is there any type of programs that you have available for middle school students? And in our conversations with the community, with law enforcement, with our stakeholders, externally and internally, we all have agreed that the middle school student population, they're very vulnerable, and we have to reach those middle school students, and we have to reach them quick.
Yes.
We have to reach them now. So we are currently working on a program called Cops and Kids.
Cops and Kids.
Where we partner with law enforcement, which includes our own Wayne State University Police and surrounding law enforcement agencies, to have conversation with these young people, middle school students. We're experiencing a barrage of media images.
Absolutely.
And our young people see this every day. Not just in the media, they see it in school, they see it in their communities.
And they're internalizing it as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there is a mistrust between community members and the police based off of the events that we've been historically faced with for a long time. And we are seeing a continuation of that in every generation that comes about. So based off of the mistrust and the perceptions that young people see with law enforcement, we are committed in changing that. So when we want in inspiring to have these conversations with young people and law enforcement, it gives an opportunity for the young people to have conversations with law enforcement outside of law enforcement lecturing young people. And law enforcement, they do a service to our young folks when it comes to community and police relations, but we have to take the conversation a bit further. And these young people they have questions. They want to know why they see violence between people in the community and the police. So the opportunity for young people, middle school students, and law enforcement to have a discussion, a dialogue, just like we're sitting here having, for young people to ask these questions, and for law enforcement to answer these questions that these young people have. And not only that dialogue, young people will be able to get a chance to see the law enforcement perspective, and law enforcement will actually, and they always hear stories, they experience what's going on as it relates to violence in the community, but to have a forum and to be in the same room and not be an intimidating situation.
Absolutely.
Between law enforcement and children and or middle school students is the goal of what we want.
An even dialogue, if you will, with the
all dialogue.
Right, and I like what you said, because one of the things, we have the community relation meeting every monthly with the police officers. So I'm going to see if perhaps they can come and do something inside of the schools more.
Absolutely. It is needed.
It is needed, because unfortunately, I think that they do have that opinion that the cops are not good, the cops are not your friend. But I remember when I went to school, the cops came in and we were told that the cops are your friend.
Yes.
And if something happens, call the police.
Absolutely.
So we do need to change that.
Yes, we do. And now we're seeing, I'm not law enforcement at all. I interface with them a lot. But when you see the integrity of what a law enforcement stands for, you don't see young people wanting to be the police as it once was when I was growing up. I mean, it was
a very honorable profession.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we want that, to come back. And one of the key words that I always like to use is peace. Our law enforcement are peace officers.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
I like that.
Right.
And our community wants, they desire and want peace in the community. So if we can take this one word of peace and make it work in these dialogue and listening sessions.
And, go ahead, finish.
That's okay.
Okay, and I forgot to say earlier that the city of Detroit, they are hiring for police officers. Yes. I said the city of Detroit is hiring, but the police department, that's a separate entity. So they are hiring right now. Yes. So they do need more people that look like us on the force. So that might be something that some of you want to put in for.
Yes, yes.
And Detroit, if we can just pause here for a minute. I think that we are going to show a clip of a video that
great.
you've brought with us. So let's stay tuned and let's watch this clip, Detroit.
Bunch, the first American person of color to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. He accepted it on behalf of the United Nations for his Middle Eastern diplomacy. Later, for his intelligence service, Kennedy awarded him with an American Medal of Freedom. Bunch also helped to lead the Civil Rights March organized by Martin Luther King Jr. in Montgomery. A peacemaker by trade, his legacy lives on. In honor of Ralph Bunche's work in civil rights and peace building, students in Greater Detroit meet annually at a week-long summer program for training to carry on that legacy.
It's really cool. It's really, really dope because I'm just here mostly to meet the people and learn something I didn't. And both of those things happened. I met really, really, really awesome people, and I also learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know.
First year, I was able to get used to being around diverse groups and allow myself to be open-minded to more than just my own culture.
I really enjoyed this week. I learned a lot about other people. I made a lot of new friends, and I learned a lot about how we all have different issues we're dealing with and how we all fundamentally share common things.
Once I got to know more people and communicate with a lot of others, I began to warm up and get used to a lot of other people, and not only people the same color as me, but people from a different race.
At the Ralph Bunche Summer Institute, students learn what it means to build community in a diverse region. Greater Detroit is marked not only by its diversity, but also by its divisions across racial, socioeconomic, and religious lines. In recognition of the great need for young leaders who can build an inclusive metropolitan region, Wayne State's Center for Peace and Conflict Studies hosts the Ralph Bunche Summer Institute each year for 80 high school students.
It got me really emotional, and it got me to think about actual real life situations.
We got to learn more about Ralph Bunche, and I think he was a very interesting man that sometimes goes under the radar as in who he was. And
today, we took almost over an hour just discussing about stereotypes and racial discrimination and youth violence. We're talking about that. I think that was really fun, and I feel like everyone should be doing that.
It reminds me that education is still the biggest thing that these kids need, and that learning things like this and going through experiences like this, they better you as a person, an individual, make you a better leader.
The Summer Institute challenges high school students to think critically about youth leadership's role in creating a safe and inclusive metropolitan region. Their week of activities culminates into community service learning and a social justice project. This year, students volunteered in the Osborne neighborhood where they made sidewalks safer for residents and school children.
It was very good to know that the reason why we were doing it, and the reason why we were doing it is because, you know, some kids are having trouble getting to school and or not coming to school because of the dangerous sidewalks there. So we got to clean those up, you know, mow them down, and you know, it was a really it really unified us together so that, you know, we were all doing something for a good purpose.
I like how we just went out there to help the community.
It was fun because we were all working together, helping to clean up the place.
Students have the opportunity to get to know the city, they spend one day working together on a service learning project, and they spend the night on Wayne State University's campus meeting with students and staff from the school.
The institute's pretty amazing too, the campus is nice.
So another thing I liked was that we met a lot of new people.
Christy, her story was really nice, you know, it inspired me, made me think a lot about my choices and stuff.
I like the speakers. I wasn't expecting that, to get like actual like speakers who are in the field that we're talking about, topic wise.
I'm having fun learning new stuff.
So overall, I think this is a really good experience, and I think something that you'd remember forever.
The impact is what takes place at the Institute, but also what students bring home to their own communities, and the relationships that they made at the Ralph Bunche Summer Institute.
Yeah, I kind of just learned how to resolve conflict and how to just like be able to make a change in my community.
I feel like I can go anywhere and communicate with a lot of different other people, and don't be so shy to come outside my box.
I don't know about everybody else, but it changes me, like little by little. Like I take something away and then I go out to the world a completely different way, and I try to share that. So yeah, that's what's there.
I got to understand about the true meanings of power and politics. We got to cover those different things. We did a lot of group exercises that really helped me communicate with different people.
And the lessons they taught us, they really do last a lifetime if you listen and you want to be engaged. And that's what really matters. You care, you take it to heart when you really want to know.
Well, Detroit, welcome back. And we saw some of the things that's going on in the Ralph Bunche Summer Institute program created by Ms. Barbara Jones and some of her constituents here. Virginia, you had a question for Ms. Jones?
Oh, sure. First of all, I thought that was an excellent piece that we saw.
Thank you.
That was good. I like the service learning for the children, how they have to be a part of that,
yes.
The diversity.
Yes.
I really recognize that.
Yes.
And we have to be more aware of the global affairs, because conflict resolution, if you can't get along here, how are we going to get along when everything is going global,
so true.
worldwide?
So true.
Yeah,
so
and
true.
I saw where they could make lifetime friends.
Yes.
Yeah, so I thought that was important. But are you seeing more of the students striving to go to college after being a part of your program?
What we are seeing is more students who are committed to social justice activism and peace building, peacemaking, and peacekeeping. Our program, Peace and Conflict Studies, is interdisciplinary, so you see that whatever I would say major that a student decides to go in, whether they're going to medical school or whether they are going into economics or business, that these skills are across disciplines.
Right.
So we're very happy with students when they come back and they check on us or we check on them and they say, hey, you know what, I've decided based off of the program, I want to go into either political science or I want to go more into the federal government sector, because there are careers that focus in foreign and domestic service on an international and a global basis as careers for our students who come through the program, whether they come to Wayne State or go on to other universities. We see that this opens their eyes to other opportunities on how they will make these huge contributions, especially if they go away and they come back. They want to come back to Detroit.
Yes.
They want to come back to Detroit and really and give back and work in the community. So that's what we're seeing with students that come through the program.
Well, that's great, because that's a wonderful outcome.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. How do we create students that become thinkers when they've learned the value of negotiation?
Wow. That I can't answer that question in its totality in the short time that we have.
We'll take the revised edition. That's
okay.
fine.
But when it comes to negotiation skills. Our kids are, our young people are negotiators.
Yes.
Yes, they
Yes.
are. We see that.
In their own right, yeah, with their own dialogue, which you're right.
Absolutely. But what is concerning to me is how are we going to teach our young people to use these negotiation skills in face of violence or in face of conflict. There was a young man, this was a story that I saw in the news a few months back where a young man was carjacked in an area in the city of Detroit. He was asked to strip naked, and based off of his negotiation skills, this young man negotiated, if you let me walk away with my life, I'm a father, I have a little girl, please let me walk away with my life. That's a form of negotiation. And the perpetrators did not harm, yes, they harmed this young man by committing the act, but that young man, absolutely, but he was able to negotiate and walk away with his life. So when we talk about negotiation, we don't think about negotiation in those terms because of how things come out to be. But that's one huge example of negotiation. So we want to equip young people with negotiation skills across the board to where they'll be able to use these negotiation skills in any situation that they may be faced with.
Also, I don't know if you mentioned earlier too, but there's a program that you're involved with at Hartford Memorial Baptist Church, Men's Convocation.
Yes.
Can you talk briefly about that?
Oh my goodness. That was a wonderful event where the men of Hartford are celebrating this year their 100th anniversary of Hartford Memorial Baptist Church. And I was invited to be a part of several events where their theme is keeping it 100 for peace. And
that's awesome.
Yes. So the men of Hartford have convened to do an intensive and transformational teaching inside the church and outside the church in the community to have people become more active in peace building.
Oh, great.
So that event that I participated in was another opportunity to not only be able to talk about the work that I do, but to be able to work with other organizations in collaboration of the work that we're all doing, which is a wonderful thing. And it's so many organizations and activists and organizers who are doing amazing things in the city of Detroit. But do we know about it? Not on a regular basis.
Right. And that's one of the things that we try to do on our show, Empowered Living. We try to empower people with the information so they can make connections and get things done. And you might be on this side of town doing the same thing that the other person is doing, but bring it together.
And that's why I'm so appreciative with being here today, because you all bring the information and push it out to the community and educate the community on who's doing what, where we're doing it, things that are coming up, to empower people to be able to know that they have the power to be able to change the circumstance and the situation that they're in. And it's a variety of ways in which we can do that.
And I'm really glad that you came on the show because we were able to get your information out. Because a lot of it I didn't know about. And then as I was listening to you, it kind of inspired me to look into that program. Maybe I want to go back to school. Maybe I want a degree in that. So it's really good.
Thank you. And I can say just building these relationships outside of where we sit, live, worship, is crucial. And based off of how I met you and you all and the other organizers of this show, this platform is a wonderful opportunity for me to be a part of. And I commend all of you and Marshall Bryant as well for having this platform to be able to communicate to a larger audience. Thank you.
Well, we just want to say thank you to Ms. Jones for coming on the show this morning. And also we want to remind the viewers and the community in Detroit that part 2 of our next panel discussion, America Divided, will be again at Marygrove College, March 31st from 7 to 9 p.m. So please come out. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful event. We're going to have a panel of people in the community that's going to share a plethora of information that you want to hear and that's really around the community. So, and also we're going to highlight with that part 2 discussion, is there a direct pipeline through incarceration and pipeline to education. So, on behalf of Marshall Bryant, Regina Ross, myself, Laura Allen, we are here at Empowered Living. We want to say thank you, Detroit, for spending time with us this morning. Again, thank you, Ms. Jones, for gracing us with your presence and informing us what you've been doing, these great things in the community. And Detroit, we will see you next time here on Empowered Living. Have a good morning.
If you hear this message, wherever you stand, I'm calling every woman, calling every man. We're the generation, we can't afford to wait. The future started yesterday, and we're already late. We've been looking